Hey there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the IM373 Extra Practice Number 5 solutions on right triangle trigonometry, aka SOHCAHTOA. And we have a puzzle that goes with this one, so let's see what that's all about. All right, here's the crazy puzzle that goes with this extra practice here. So we're trying to solve the riddle, where can you watch a bunch of lumberjacks demolish a house? To solve this riddle, we have to answer all of these questions with these letters next to them. And we're going to do it using the values in this table here. This is a table of values of sine, cosine, and tangent for all the multiples of 5 angles from 0 to 90. So once you figure out which number or angle is going with your letter, you put that letter above that number down below here. So let's say, for example, that I do this first one, E, sine of 70, and I figure out that that answer is, 0.643. It isn't, but let's say that it is. I would look for that number down here below, so there it is, and I would put an E right there next to the number. So that's the idea on these. There's a lot of them, but if we use the table, we should be all right. So let's give it a shot. All right, so here we go with the first problem, which is an E, the first of a few E's on this one. So in this one, they want us to write the ratio. For the next several problems, actually, we're basically just going to look up the value of this angle's trig function in this table. It's just a direct lookup. So sine of 70, I look under 70 and over in the sine column right here, and I see that that's 0.940. So that's what I'm going to look up in my answer column row here, and I'm going to put an E right there next to 940, 0.940. Next up, we've got cosine of 25. So here's 25. Here's the cosine value of that in the cosine column. So 0.906. So I'm putting an O then next to 0.906 right there. Now we've got tan of 30. So 30 degrees is here. Over in the tan column, it's going to be 0.577. So 0.577 is getting an N for this one, and that's right there. Now we have to figure out sine of 5. So there's 5. Here's the sine. It's one of our first values in that column. So 0.087. 0.087, let me find that. That's right there. So that's getting a C. For this one, we have our second problem, O. So some of these letters get duplicated many times. Cosine of 60 this time. So there's 60. In the cosine column, that comes out to 0.500, which is the actual exact value is 0.5, but they're just taking it out to 3 decimals. So that's right here, and we're putting an O there. Now we're going to be figuring out tan of 75. So 75 is right there. The tan column is right there, so that's going to be 3.732. And where can I find that? That's going to be right there. That's going to be an H. For the rest of the problems on this puzzle, things are getting a little bit trickier. They're not going to be directly asking us for the sine, cosine, or tangent of anything. They're going to be kind of disguising it using these different ratios. So we're going to have to figure out, based off the angle and the sides involved, which trig ratio they're talking about. And the other type of problem is sometimes they're going to give us one of these values, decimal values, and we're going to have to do a reverse lookup to see what the angle was. So on this problem, we're told angle A is 40. We want A over C. So A over C, based off of angle A is the opposite side. It's across from A. C is the hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse, just using my SOHCAHTOA thing I'm going to write down every time here, that's going to be sine. So basically, if I want A over C, I'm asking for sine of the angle, sine of 40. And I'm going to now look that up in my table. So we have 40 degrees, sine, that's 0.643. So I'm putting an E under 0.643 right there. On this problem, we're told that A over C equals 0.342, and we want the measure of angle A. So based off of A over C is opposite over hypotenuse. So that again is the sine function. So what they're basically telling us here is the sine of some angle, the sine of A, equals 0.342. So what we need to do is look up 0.342 in the sine column and see what angle goes with that. So here's my sine column. I'm just searching for 0.342. It's right there, and that goes with an angle of 20 degrees. So that means measure of angle A is 20, and we're going to put an O. This is our third O now. We're going to put an O next to 20 degrees right here. Now for problem T, we're given that A is 55 degrees, and we want A over C. Again, A over C, that's opposite over hypotenuse from the perspective of angle A. So that's sine. We're asking for sine of 55 this time. So here's 55. Sine column gives us 0.819 for that. So 0.819, that's getting a T. On this next one, problem I, the only I out of the batch here, we're told A over C is 0.906, so we want measure of angle A. Based off of A is the opposite, C is the hypotenuse, so that's the sine then, so that's the sine of some angle equals 0.906. What angle that is, let's look it up. So 0.906 in the sine column, 0.906 is right here, and then the angle that must go with that then is 65 degrees. So that's an I going in 65 degrees right there. Now we're moving on to another problem O. This is our fourth O thus far. We're told that measure of angle A is 30. Now we want B over C. So this is a little bit of a change up. Based off of angle A, B is the adjacent side, C is still the hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse, that's that's cosine. They're basically asking for then the cosine of 30. So we've got 30 degrees in our table. Cosine column, our second column, says that that's 0.866. So 0.866 is what I'm looking up down below here. I see that very beginning, so that's an O right there. Now we're told that B over C is 0.643, and we want the measure of angle A. Based off of A, B is the adjacent and C the hypotenuse. So they're essentially telling us that the cosine, the cosine of A equals 0.643. So let me go to my cosine column now, right here, and look up 0.643. They go in numerical order at least. So there's 0.643 right there. That goes with an angle of 50 degrees. So that means 50 is going to be the measure of this angle, measure of angle A. And then that is going to be right there. Let's put an H right there. For this one, we're given A is 65, and we want A over B. Based off of A over B is opposite over adjacent. That's TOA, tangent. So we're asking for now the tan of 65. And I think this is our first problem where we had to do a tan of 65 where they, other than the ones in the beginning where they came out and told us to use it. So 65 is there. Tan column is that last one. So right there, 2.145. And then that's going to be right over there. That's going to get a P. This is our first problem P of the set. Next up, we're told that A over B is 1.428, and we want measure of angle A. Based off of A over B is opposite over adjacent, so that's TOA. They're essentially telling us that the tan of A is 1.428, which means we have to look up 1.428 in the tan column now and see the angle that went with it. So that's right there. Going back to the angle, that's going to be 55 degrees. So 55 is right here. That gets an N. Now we're doing another problem H. This time we have measure angle B is 80 degrees. So that's a little bit of a change. And then we want A over C. So based off of angle B, A is now the adjacent side. C is still the hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse means we want cosine of 80 degrees. So here's 80. Here's cosine of that, 0.174. So that means 0.174 is getting this H. So there we go. Now we're figuring out measure of angle B given A over C equaling 0.985. So based off of angle B, A is our adjacent side, C is the hypotenuse. That's They're essentially telling us the cosine of B is 0.985. So let me look that value up in my cosine column now. So 0.985 is right there, pretty early in the going. and that goes with 10 degrees, so 10 degrees for angle B. And then the 10 degrees is over here, so that's getting the W, the only W of all the letters there. We're turning the W upside down. Now we're doing problem M. This is the only M in the whole set. Now they're giving us angle B is 45, and they want B over A. So based off of B, B over A is opposite over adjacent, tangent, TOA. So we're asking for tan of 45, which I kind of know off the top of my head, but we can look it up in the table. That's going to be right here. That's exactly 1, even though they took it out to 3 decimals. So we've got 1.000 getting the M, so right there. That appears to spell home. I guess we'll see what else is getting filled in there. But it looks like we have on the home, and then we have to figure out the rest of it. Now we've got problem G going on. We're given B over A. We want angle B. So B over A, from the perspective of B, that's the opposite side over the adjacent. So TOA, tangent. They're telling us that the tan of B is 11.430. So looking up 11.430 in my tan column, pretty easy to spot that one. It's the only double-digit one there. That goes with an angle of 85 degrees. So we have B equals 85 degrees. 85 is right here. That's getting a G. Now we have angle B is 50, and we want B over C. From the perspective of B, little b is the opposite side, C is the hypotenuse. So this is sine of 50 degrees. Here's 50. Here's the sine of that, 0.766. And I see that right here. So this is getting another H. This is our 4th H now. A lot of those in this puzzle. Next up, we're trying to find angle B, given that B over C is 0.259. So from B's perspective, little b is the opposite side, C is the hypotenuse. They're telling us then that the sine of B is 0.259. Looking up 0.259 in the sine column, that's right there. That's going to be 15 degrees for that one. 15 is over here, so that's getting the only S out of this whole batch. It's odd that there's only one S, but hey, it happens. So now we're on to, I think we only have one problem left. Here it is. This last one is a P. So we're given sine of A is 0.866. We want measure of angle B. So this is kind of interesting because ultimately, in order to find B, we're first going to have to figure out angle A. They didn't tell us anything about angle B in terms of sine, cosine, or tangent. So if we're given that sine of A is 0.866, let me start by looking that number up in the sine column. So 0.866 is right here. So that tells me that we've got 60 degrees for angle A. And if angle A is 60, this is angle A right here. If this is 60 and we've used up 90 over here, that means that there's only 90 minus 60, 30 degrees left over for angle B. So we can say angle B is 30, which means this final P is going right in this spot here. At this point, we've filled in all of the letters, did all the problems. We've got some blanks in there, and apparently that's okay for this type of puzzle. So where can you watch a bunch of lumberjacks demolish a house? On the home chopping show. Not to be confused with the home shopping show. That's something much different, I guess. So till next time, Mr. Sutton, signing off.